So I just recorded a whole video in a picture mode on my phone, so that was fun. This is my fab shop so far. So I've got a light up here for my welding area, so I can see really nice here. I've got my tables here, welders here and here, power to each welder. Got another welding table over here that I'm still clearing the junk off of it. A bunch of my grinding supplies up there, clamps here. What I've been working on tonight is this. Doesn't look like much, but I had this piece of scrap. I've got it bolted to the floor there. I used these. So it's flush with the floor. I'm probably going to come back and add more around the base of this thing at some point to give myself a little bit more grip. I've got 4 of them in there now, but I'm not really sure that's enough. But that's all I had today, so I just happen to have that in the drawer. I may come back, make another plate that goes all the way around this and bolts into other holes on either side and come up with some supports. But for now, it's pretty solid. So, but what I've done is this is a piece that I had laying around. I'm going to cut all this stuff off, cut this off, but I needed something that was solid that I could work with for a few reasons. I took this piece of 2.5 inch tubing, I put it on my Bridgeport, whatever you call it, manual mill, and I drilled and tapped these holes 1/2 So these holes are 10 inches apart. These are 6 inches apart, 2 inches from these, and this is 5 inches on the center of this 10-inch hole pattern here. And then I've got 2 more here, 10 inches apart as well. I drilled these out and welded nuts, so I've got a little more thread engagement here. The reason I just did these and drilled and tapped them is I don't want anything protruding into the tube. But I also want this to be flat, so that's why this is drilled and tapped, and I've got nuts welded on the side here. I'm going to do another one of these and put it on this side, take a piece of plate and come over to here, another piece of plate and come over to here, and then I'm probably going to drill and tap a hole pattern in this as well. So I'm going to make this like a welding slash fixture, podium, pedestal, whatever you want to call it. The idea being this is going to be sort of a do-all that I'm going to use for a bunch of different stuff. One being a vise, so you see I've got that mounted to that nice long piece there. I can slide it in here, I can lock it down, and I can be way out here if I need to work around it. I'll have plenty of room. Another one is this. So this is a eBay thing that I bought. I need to be able to bend some pipe for one of our customers, and we really don't have a good way to do it. So I got this part, everything you see painted, and it worked, sort of, but you have to eyeball where your bends go. So what I ended up doing is I made this with our laser at work, and excuse me, I got a 10-inch bolt hole thing here, and this is, I think, 13 inches across. I just added those to add them just in case. I took a piece of stock and I turned this down on the lathe, so you can see I've got 2 bolts here. This is a 3/8 slot, so these are 2 3/8 bolts. That keeps it pretty solid. I've also got marks, which you can't hardly see, scribed into it here and on the other side. So idea being I can mark where I want my stop to be. This thing goes to here and it's pretty solid. But the idea behind this, let's see if I can do this one-handed. Is so I can bolt this, and I just happened to space my bolts with a washer to where they're just flush. So just position this. So see, I can take these, and if I can get it centered, I think I made those holes 0.55 or something like that. And I've got this one. There you go. I've just hand tightened this, obviously. There we go. So now this thing's good and solid. Know what I did with it? Oh, here it is. And you loosen these up. This will slide. And the reason I did 2 bolts is so it'll slide and basically stay oriented, where this will stay to the outside and that mark will stay to the inside. So I can bring it to wherever I want it to go, whatever the bend needs to be. And sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. Oh, there. Watch my pinky. And I also wanted it to be nice and wide, so I took some, I think 2-inch stock and put this in. So I wanted it to have a good base to where it's really got some bite, and it's not going to let this move any further than what I want it to move. So that's the best way I could come up with to make this a repeatable option. So these bolts don't protrude, they just barely go into the threads. So I can leave this on here. I can't do that one-handed. And I can take this, slide it in here, so it could stick out here, and then run a bolt in here to lock it down. That would hold it in place. I can also use this to make more fixturing for this thing. So, you know, you put a pipe in here and say you want to do 2 bends and they need to be in the same plane. Well, it's really easy to get one bend to go this way and one bend goes the wrong way. So I want something that I can space the pipe up a certain distance. So I can come out of this and make an arm that I can fixture whatever I want. So I can have a, you know, threaded rod where I can lift it up, pivot it around. I can also come off the back side out this way and do the same thing. So if it lays here, so that'll give me a way to fixture whatever pipe or solid bar stock that I'm trying to bend. This was $130 something on eBay. And just the dies alone, this is the 3/4 inch dies, but it came with all of this as well. So I think those are 1 inch. It goes all the way down to pretty small. So just really a neat set. I was thinking I might have to redo this thing and make this come up and have some kind of a support that comes out and down to here. But I bent 3/4 inch solid aluminum bar stock with this, and it handled it like a champ. We bolted this thing to the Bridgeport table at work because it was the only thing heavy enough that we could do that with and push on this and it would work. So I'm going to take on the side, I'm going to make something that can hold this stuff. I'm probably going to figure out a way to bolt this or maybe hang this. I don't know what yet. I didn't want to weld studs into this or thread them in. I wanted something that would really hold and I wanted to be able to replace the bolts if I wanted to. So I put a spacer. This is just 1/2 inch square block, and I've got it here, here, and here, and that just spaces it off the top. It still gives me a nice solid base and allows me to replace those bolts if I need to. But like I said, my intention is to have one come off of here, one come here. I'm going to probably put a piece of 1/4 inch plate to fill this and fill the front gap and make this a pedestal. I'm going to have the same bolt pattern on both sides. I'm going to have these on both sides, and then just below this I'm going to come this way with the same kind of deal. So I can slide something in this way, I can slide something in this way, and I'm going to use this 2.5 inch tubing, which I've got, which is plenty strong for anything I want to do. It's going to be a fixture basically that I can screw to, but it's also going to be something I can insert something in. My idea is to come off, I can come to a T, I can have a bench grinder here, another one over here, another one here, belt sanders. I can have all of that sort of modularly goes into this one pedestal. So it's in the center of my shop. So when I'm working on something and say I need to use my grinders or belt sander or bender or whatever, I'm going to make it as modular as I can make it to where everything will kind of work with this. And I've got it set up to where I can also unscrew it, get it out of my way. So trying to make it movable if I need to, but also usable in as much as possible. So there's that. I am going to take oxyacetylene and sort of cut some of this off, try to get it smoothed out, repaint it all. I'm going to paint this, and I'd like to figure out a way to somehow make some kind of a thing on this that I can index it with. Not exactly sure about that. I was going to also do a series of holes with my CNC mill, so basically just drill a hole pattern that goes all the way through there so I could use holes. But the problem with this is so high that you need something that's got a pretty hefty stopping power. So that 2 inch wide base down here, or 1.75 inch, whatever that came out to be, really needs to be there to be solid enough to stop that. I'm thinking about bringing a return off of this all the way around because this is floppy. You can see that moving. This actually really solids that up quite a bit. I've got to figure out a way to glue this, I guess, to keep that from rusting. But yeah, I just thought this was a neat way to do a few things. Like I've got a small shop. Small, I guess it depends on your definition of small, but you know, considering our shop at the office is 30,000 square feet, I don't think I've got 2,500 square feet, something like that. So I'm trying to make the absolute most use of every inch of the space in this shop. I want to leave this as open as possible to be able to do stuff, but keep it as, you know, packed as possible at the same time to be able to do whatever I need to do. So I've got all these bench grinders that I've sort of had sitting around in multiple places. Really had no good way to use them, so I've got that one with a wire wheel and a stone. I've got this one that I basically never use because I don't want to use it near my machines. So I've also got there it is, a little belt sander that I used to use all the time, but again, I just don't have a good place to put it. So what I'm thinking is make myself a table that I can put this and this and this on, where it will slide into that receiver piece that I've got. And when I'm not using it, possibly have a piece that goes up and down. So possibly on what I'm thinking about is on one of these sides, have one that goes up and down like this. And also what I want to do at some point is I've got some 2-inch and 2.5-inch tubing, so it slides in and out of each other pretty well. What I'd like to do is slide the 2.5-inch tubing in and have one that goes like this, 2.5-inch. So it'll sort of adjust out and in, and also have another one that adjusts up and down. And then, hard to explain, but if you're trying to weld on something, what I want is something that will clamp with probably an air cylinder of some kind. So it'll clamp a part, grounding the part. So I'm going to set it up to where this will be a ground. What I was thinking about doing is dangling ground clamp from down there, or from up there, where I can drop it down and ground this, because obviously it's just going into the concrete now, but set it up to where this is grounded. And if I want to come over here and weld, it's not that far from where my welders are, so I can roll this over, or just like I've got now, I've just got my welding leads, my stick welding leads coming over here. Say I've got a big box or something I need to work on, but I want to rotate it. I want something that I can come over here, I can grab it with it, it'll ground the part, I can rotate the part this way, I can turn it, rotate the part this way, I can turn it, rotate the part this way, sort of articulate whatever it is I'm welding on within reason, to where, you know, if I want to rotate it, I can rotate it here, but I can also drop it, I can pick it up, I can get it eye level, I can sit down and get it eye level here, you know, just more or less however I need to weld something, make it as easy as possible. So again, this will be kind of a multi-use thing that I'll use that I'll do a bunch of different things with. So once I'm finished with it, I'm going to try to even have a tabletop of some kind, where I can have a really nice big welding table that will mount to there. That's why I need to beef this up a little bit more, I think. Do some 1/2-inch bolts, maybe 8 of them all the way around, and have a nice welding table that comes all the way through here, that again is removable. Have it set up where I can just pick it up and, you know, stick it over here somewhere. I don't know, I'll figure that out. But this is kind of the start of it. And again, this is built out of junk that I bought from a scrapyard. You know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So that gives me a nice 1/4-inch by 6x6 podium to build a lot of stuff off of. And, you know, it's just like, this thing is kind of useful for a little bit, but you really need to add this and a stop to be able to repeat whatever you're bending. So if I want to bend something, I want to be able to bend it with this and repeat it. So I'm going to figure out a way to have an indicator. I even thought about milling in some kind of another slot here with a piece or 2 or 3 that I can slide, and will match up to this part. So like a T-slot, it'll kind of go through here with a little set knob or something with a little indicator that points to this. Maybe have 3 of them along this thing, where, you know, bend 1, I slide it over to here and mark it. Bend 2 might be here and I mark it. Bend 3 might be here and I can mark it. So I can put these in place, and if, say, I've got one part that I need to bend 3 different bends, and maybe one's a 90, one's a 45, and one's something in between, I can mark where this needs to go. Do one bend, move this to another place, do it the second bend, move it to another place, and have it to where I can index it more or less wherever I want it to go. And it will be repeatable and, you know, a robust system. So This was just something I sketched up at work because we had to get something out the door today. And I bought this because we needed a way to do it. And somebody had something similar, but we had to drive something like an hour away every time we used it. They were very nice and allowed us to use it, but they wouldn't sell us their machine. And they wouldn't let us take it back to the shop to use it there. It's something similar to this, much beefier, much better design. But we had to bend it, and we got to bend like 30 of these parts. And so I saw this on eBay and I bought it, and then we've actually got to get 5 parts out tomorrow that have those bends. So that's why I went ahead and did this tonight. I'm going to stay home, bend those parts here, and this gives me a way to do that. So anyway, yeah, this is after I started messing with this. I was originally going to weld this to the top of this, and then I thought, well, shoot, I don't want that to be the only thing it does. So then I thought about putting this tube and welding it on the top of here, and I could slide stuff on it. But it was like, well, shoot, if I put it to the side, well, that gives me more of a platform up top to do other things with. So it was like, okay, I don't want to do that. So I welded it to the side. And I'm actually, now that I think about it, I wish I'd have put holes that were just holes, so not a threaded hole. But this is a 1/2 inch hole, so I can always use a 3/8 bolt to go through there if I wanted to. I wanted it to be, so I made this tubing 12 inches, and I wanted it to where if I wanted to go up from the bottom up, I could. So it's big enough, 2.5 inches, that I can slide a bolt up through there. But I also wanted to be able to come from the top down. So again, that's why this is threaded and it's flush on the inside, so I can slide stuff like that through there. So I'd already had that made, and it was stuck in here. So I'd already done something similar to this, and I'll leave this in place for other things. I've got, where's it at? Stuff like this, little ring roller that I want to make something for. I've also got, I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. I've got a little spot welder right there that I want to make a stand for. So all of those things will eventually have some way of coming onto this. And I'll probably make some kind of a cart that I can set them all in and have little sockets to where it will be organized and, you know, maybe circular, where you can just go grab whatever you want. Maybe even make it where it sits in the corner and rolls, and I can say, well, I need this thing. Grab it, slide it in, and use it. If I want to spot weld something, have it set up where I can slide that in. I've got a spot welder. That one will probably utilize the one that goes this way. So I'll have the spot welder pointed out this way, and I'll be able to adjust it up and down to, you know, get whatever height I need. I'm still debating on how I want to do this. I'm either going to have one piece that goes this way, or I might, once I put another one here and one across the bottom here, I may come up to the side, you know, like the middle of this, where it'll come up flush, and then have a bracket that goes to this so it's nice and sturdy. And that way I've got, you know, again, more options to fixture stuff using one little small pedestal. So I want to pretty this up, paint it, strip it, do all that stuff, so I can pull those bolts out. And I'm going to get some flathead, not flathead, the domed bolts, where if I wanted to take this out, I could screw those down in there and keep dirt and grime and stuff like that out of there. But this was something, I just needed some way of keeping this fixtured, so that's what I used, because that's what I had in stock. But I'm going to get, those are 3/8, I'm going to get 1/2 inch, and I'm probably going to cut a piece that goes around this, and I'll weld that base to it that will come out further. Maybe make some supports that go up to it, and I'll have, instead of 4, I'll probably have 8 of those same things, but 1/2 inch in a circle around it. That way, you know, it'll work. I've actually got one 1/2 inch, one of these somewhere, but only had one, so I had plenty of those. But, you know, yet another trip to Lowe's. But anyway, what I like about this is right now, I've just given myself a way to bend stuff, and I can leave it here, and a way to use a vise. And I made that long for a reason, so I can have the vise out here if I wanted to. I may make some kind of a support type deal that will drop down, that will go to the floor, so if I'm beating on something or hammering on something, it'll have something that comes down with like a rubber doodad to keep it from putting all that stress on this. It'll be out here with a support that goes down. So I don't know if I'll do that yet, but I may. But yeah, anyway, I thought that was a neat idea, a neat way to do things, especially in a small shop when you got a bunch of junk that you want to be able to do, but you don't have that much space to do it in. So one of the things that I'm really trying to do is keep the clutter down. It was nice to actually work in my shop for once instead of work on it today. I've worked on the shop instead of in it for forever. So as you can see, I'm slowly starting to migrate stuff into there. So there's my shop press, my oxyacetylene, that thing, all my welders, that was in here. And the ceilings are lower right there, and I kept hitting my head on it, which was not fun. This, I think, is just gonna stay here. I was gonna move it in there, but I don't think I will. I'm just gonna utilize this space for cleaning stuff, whatever. I'm probably gonna put a sink here, and it may go on the other side of this wall. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm gonna do something like that with that. I think this will stay here for now. I may roll it into this corner. I'm gonna make something that rolls with wheels on it for this, so I can roll it in and out. But that's where my plasma table was. This is where my welders were, so now this is gonna be storage. I've got to figure out a way to organize these in there. I'm thinking about just making a rack that rolls around for that kind of stuff. So I've got this, which I want to eventually roll outside. So this will roll outside, and I want to put a little roof over, probably out here somewhere, where I can roll it through there. I think it's actually just wide enough to roll out there. Or on the other side of this makeshift door, whenever I make that a door, I want to come out with a lean-to on this side as well eventually. And when I do that, if I can concrete parts of that, I can roll this out there, and it'll be under a roof, so it won't be getting soaking wet. Eventually I want to do shelving like this all the way down this wall to about here. These will go outside, these will stay, but what I may do also is take these and move them over there, and basically from say this point forward will be storage, and in here will be more like a tool room. So tooling, maybe take these carts and they'll be in here, maybe even get some bigger toolboxes that'll stay in here. That way I can make this all as open as possible. So I can take these, they'll go in there, I can wheel that in there, I can wheel this stuff in there, I can wheel that in there, I can take that in there, I can wheel this in there. So try to make this as open as possible, and this as open as possible, and utilize this more for storage as much as possible. So it's just a matter of organizing this horrible mess. There's just tons of junk in here that I've got to figure out something to do with. And what I'd like to do is keep this part open. Storage goes here and here. I'm also going to take that red sandblaster and put it in that shop as well. So I'd like to be able to drive my tractor in this door and park it in here and keep it inside, and that's what I'd like to eventually do. And I've got to decide if I want to take these and put them out there under a lean-to, or put them out here under a lean-to on the other side of that wall. So finally starting to make some progress with this thing. Finally getting back in the swing of things. There for man, a year, I just didn't feel like doing anything. Still got to finish this, but that's a project once I get all of this done. I'd love to be able to bend metal, so that'll be my next thing to play with. Get this covered, so a roof going out that way, that'll cover that. Re-pour concrete in here, and that'll be part of my building. So I may actually put my parts washer and sink out here, and I even thought about putting like a shower out here when I get all this covered. I'm going to put a door here to where if I need to pull my well pump, I can pull it out there, out that way. But I've got to clean all this up. I've got to get my backhoe in here. I've got to fix my backhoe and get all this scraped down to where I can pour my concrete. And I've still got to pour my footers for this thing and come off of here. So I've got just enough of that material really to do this room here, which I really wasn't planning on doing. Originally, I was going to cover this, but I have to pick between this or this, and I'd rather cover this. I've got some pallet racking that I got from work. They were throwing it away. So I've got these beams, which are actually really strong, and they're fairly long. And I thought about making something with them. I've got a bunch of them, a pallet of them right here. And I thought about using them coming over, and I could use these side pieces going this way, and I could actually cover this once I pour my concrete. So that would be another way to do that without having to go buy more material, because that stuff's super expensive and I'm tired of owing money. So anyway, so yeah, there's the latest that I've been doing. So you guys have a great day, and I hope I've given somebody an idea or some inspiration on something. If anybody has any suggestions on how I should organize this or anything, I am open to ideas. I'm also running water, so you see I forget what you call this stuff. I've got to drop it down here, and that's also going to give me a way to put a spigot outside. So I don't have any water hose spigots anywhere. They all screwed up years ago. So since I'm already plumbing water in here, I'm going to run it down and have a spigot outside so I can wash my cars and use it, water hose outside if I need to. But I'm actually setting it up to where it all will drain down and back out that way if I need it to, so I can winterize it so the water won't stay in. I think this is PEX is what that's called. I'm also going to bring an air tank in here. That one's too small, but a bigger one to put here, to where my air will fill this air tank up and help run everything in here. I'll probably put the sandblaster over here somewhere, or possibly over there. That's going to be my paint booth eventually, and I'm going to put it on wheels so I can roll it around. But the wire mesh up top gives me a way to hang stuff. I'm going to make arms that will hold my heat lamps for when I'm painting something and I want to heat it up. And I'm going to put sides on, and 3 sides and a door, and basically turn it into almost like an oven. So when I'm trying to paint something, I can paint it, shut the doors and leave the heat lamps on, and help the paint dry when it's 10 degrees outside. It'll also kind of contain the paint into this. So I'm going to take some of the plywood and stuff like that I've got and do that. I'm also going to put like a floor of some kind in it, but I'm going to make me a board or something that goes across here with those wheels so I can roll this around. So that's another project for another day, and I'm going to make that mobile so I can move it out of the way if I need to. So anyway, there again, if I can ever get this shop done where I can just work in it instead of on it. I don't know what's going on with the weather. I didn't think I'd have to break that thing out, but it is stinking cold today. I think it's supposed to be 18 degrees tomorrow, And for the last 2 weeks, I've been running around in short sleeve shirts, sweating 80 degrees. So, this thing at weather just don't want to make up its mind. I've got, also, I keep running rabbit trails, but you can see that 6-inch tubing right there. That's what that machine is actually sitting on. So, you can see it there. Whenever I'm done with this, I'm going to bring these in here, and I'm going to either put them up here on either side, parallel with these, or back there, and probably up here, because I usually pull a vehicle in, the motor's right here, and if I want to work on something, I'm going to put those there. I'm going to run 2 runners this way, and then I'm going to have an I-beam with 2 gantries on either side. So the I-beam will roll backwards and forwards this way, and I'll have another roll